I'm Caitlin Dwyer, so I teach in the theology department here at Thomas More. This three-part series on the history and mission of our university. Next up, we have Sherry Stanforth. He is the Creative Writing Vision Program Director here at Thomas More. And she is also the author of the lyrics of our alma mater, which I'm so excited. She's going to perform it for us today. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Sherry. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Caitlin, thank you for putting this together. It's such a great program. So, the word alma mater, I'm not a Latin speaker, but the whole idea of a generous mother is captivated in that phrase, alma mater. And if you think about our mothers, our mothers in an ideal and sacred way have nourished us and have protected us. This notion of sustenance and continuance, I think we see in our mission at Thomas More. And I thought before I'll sing the alma mater just instead of read it, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. But I'm reading you some lines from Northern Kentucky's alma mater. Guide us to greater truth is in their alma mater, and let your vision lead us is in there. You see, will ever down the foe. So there's a little bit more of an oppositional tone in that one. Or show you're pulling hard for Cincy. That line is in there. University of Kentucky's alma mater. Sound her praise with voices united. Teach each generation never to fail in loyalty. So some strong ideals present in other alma maters. I think ours is special, and I did write it, but I dare not claim it for my very own piece of original work. This alma mater was very powerfully a collaboration, and of course this is a shout out to the collaborators, but it also embodies the value inside of our alma mater. So Brianna Earn wrote the music for this alma mater, borrowed, I believe, from that Irish sounding heritage that some of the most beautiful music in the church expresses. But on the committee for the alma mater were Monica Guinea, Rebecca Wells, Father Twaddell, Pat Egan, Ray Aber, and the entire alumni board. So I'll sing it, and then I'll ask if you want to unmute. We can talk about it, the words a little bit, and I know Caitlin has a copy to post possibly up there. Oh, Thomas More, unite us in a circle of true friends. Integrity and service guide our purposes and ends. May the binding ties of family stay close within our sight. Uphold the seat of wisdom for our dear old blue and white. Fond memories and friendship draw us through the passing years. We gather round the table, share our laughter and our tears. Our shining light, our history, passing through our Murphy Hall. The grotto and the chapel, all the places we recall. Upon the humble path we walk, for our work is never done. Until light conquers darkness, and we all shall rise as one. As saints we stand together through the years, each waking day. We'll strive to make a difference, and the truth will light our way.
Bravo! Bravo!
So this alma mater, it represents some interesting things in regard to collaboration. A committee talked and we discussed the values that we felt were embodied in the mission of Thomas More University and in its history. It's a direct collaboration between a student and a professor. To me, that makes it very special. Brianna is a very gifted human being, and she tells this story I thought I'd pass on to you. If she were part of this circle, it would come more powerfully to you through her own words. But she said that she was sitting in front of a piano here on the campus, just pulling, inside of her heart to try to find the right tune. And she felt that something actually descended upon her. And she had been listening to many historical tunes to get ideas. So I think that the fact that she felt a sense of divinity in the tune to the alma mater is special. The words, and I don't know, Caitlin, did you want to post the words up, or is that, I have it if you don't, but your version maybe,
I was gonna try to pull it
if it's difficult,
up.
I might be able to,
No, I
I won't turn it into a literary
here.
discussion, but
Amazing. I sent it out in the email, but let me just try to share. Yes.
so if you look at the words to this alma mater, I want you to think about Thomas More and what Thomas More is. I'm a poet and a fiction writer. I tend to run from cliche the same way some people might run from the political controversy that Ray alluded to at the end of his message. I will say though that an alma mater wants to be cliche in the fact that an alma mater wants to grasp at familiarity. So, the word cliche is not such a horrible word in the fact that it means, it intends this notion of the very familiar patterns we might all recognize in our language. But so this idea of unity comes across, and there are some things I'll point out in the alma mater. But the Light of Saints, the title alone, is this idea of trying to keep something alive, which is, again, tied back to that notion of nourishing mother and sustenance. But if you think about the value of Thomas More, we've been talking much today, especially with all of the struggles fiscally and with a pandemic of branding and of trying to sustain ourselves as a college or a university for the future. But the word branding is directly set apart from what an alma mater might capture inside of its words. The ethos is really what the alma mater is attempting to capture. The idea of the characteristics and the spirit of a culture coming through. So I can look inside of this and I can see our brand. I can see personal relationships. I can see the idea of carrying on the liberal arts. I can see the idea of taking what we learn to become very successful in the community outside of our classrooms and our other endeavors. Inside of the alma mater, that those energies are meant to transcend really what it might be to just work and study at this place for the sake of a productive community. There's something beyond that. So you see words, and I won't talk long about the words. I'd rather open the floor and maybe discuss a little bit, but you see this notion of the circle that's emphasized more than once. And, geometrically, a circle has, no beginning and no end, alpha and omega. So that's present in it. And the idea of purpose is put into the first opening verses. To have intention, this idea that we have an intention of mission-based action. Family and seat of wisdom side by side in a verse. If you think about the Blessed Virgin and we have our chapel, we have our grotto, there are place names mentioned here that all connect back to this devotional concept of Mary as a vessel of holiness. And then family, and its living force embodies all of that. There are some oppositions that sound very cliche to my ears as a poet. Laughter and tears, we hear that all of the time in poetry, and might want to push the writer of that poem to capture that in more concrete and sensory detail, but not in an alma mater. In an alma mater, you just need to get the values down, and that idea that there may be some struggle, not just happy times, which alma maters tend to emphasize, is important because it's inside of all struggle we learn and we grow. So, and these are all things that we discussed in our gatherings together. the key character trait in the second verse, or actually the beginning of the third verse, the humble path we walk. I think I don't need to say very much to the people who already teach and learn here about the importance and value of humility in our professions, our disciplines, our purposes of study, and what we do with that information and those skills when we move forward. To the new people here, I first of all welcome, and I'm so happy that you're here. But this is real at this institution. It's genuine that we want to serve one another day by day by day in the most everyday and common ways. I'll cover your class for you if you have that appointment and you're going to be late, to even the more profound ways where we might create something or be recognized for something. And our first turn might be to remember who helped us make that happen. That's a very important value, that it doesn't matter what happens to the 21st century institutions that we all read about. That value, I hope, will remain. And when you look at this last verse, this notion of each waking day and the notion of truth lighting our way indicates the idea of rising, of rising up to walk the path. Ray made some incredible comments about Thomas More, and the way you framed them, Ray, called me to action. But the idea that, to know when to keep your mouth shut, to know when to speak, to be willing to lose your head too for a principle and a value, to rise up no matter the difficulty, the pandemic, the question of sustainability, the question of new students with different forms of need, whatever it is. I think that on the workaday level and on a spiritual level, the alma mater hopes to capture some of that. And then finally, it's a practical tool. It could be sung at convocation, or it could be sung at commencement. People standing in the parking lot tailgating might decide to sing the first verse of it. But in the end, it's us. And I hope we remain people who believe in the light of saints, because working here has absolutely changed my life. And I'm just one individual in this group and beyond through the passage of time. But if we refuse to let go of that ideal, that we carry something forward into time and space that would have meaning for others, then I think we're practicing the mission. Feel free to chime in. This is my own take on the alma mater, having been inspired by my colleagues through many years.
That was beautiful, Sherry. Thank you.